I think this is the great time to begin because we are in the studio, even though one day we're actually going to do this like side by side. We're gonna share a legit in-person experience one of these days. I've got the one and only Ryan Estes. You've been on the podcast before. If people are smart enough, they will click this link and they will go and they will watch said podcast. You can also watch this other link, which is where I'm giving a huge thank you. In fact, even rocking the very shirt that I got right now about the idea of celebrating good conversation. So, Ryan, welcome home. Welcome back, man. How are things?
Things are great. Thanks so much. I'm very happy to talk to you, Eric. Appreciate it.
This is kind of funny because the last time we talked, I was like, I don't even remember half of the discussion. I was in like, I don't know if I had a fever or what it was. I didn't realize how bad a shape I was in until after. And I was like, I don't remember a good chunk of what we just talked about. So
that's a sign of a true pro. Right there, it's an autopilot, like bow, no problem.
So people can go back and they can watch that, and hopefully it still comes up. But you were fantastic. I always dig any chance we get to chat, and we've got something cool. This is the fun part. I've actually got turned on to a really, really slick service that you and the Kitcaster team are offering. Oh, wait, sorry. Just if anybody's brand new to you, let me do that first. I'm just hammering right to the good stuff. Give a quick bio, and then we're gonna jump into the creative studio.
You bet. So yeah, I'm Ryan. I'm co-founder of Kitcaster. We are a podcast booking agency. Specifically, we book funded startup founders, entrepreneurs with exits, and C-suite executives on the world's top podcasts, much like DiscoPosse.
Oh, I like that. Thank you, man. And I love that tagline gets tighter and more perfect. And like we just blew past 200 guests on my podcast, and look, I can't even go back and count the percentage of it, but a significant number have come out of the Kitcaster roster. So this is really, really cool. Super high quality people, really fantastic stories. And it's fun because sometimes, you get ones where they're at like different levels of where they are and how they are with storytelling. And it's wild to bring it all together. But let's talk about the creative studio, because this is, as I said, something that I found. I actually just like naturally discovered this on your website. I'm like, I'm gonna do this thing because I thought this is really cool. So I clicked the button and I got this done. I actually had it done for Emily Gillette. Emily was an amazing guest I had, and she was a lot of fun. And I thought there's so much good like nuggets in here. And as a creator, one of the things that I fail to do really, really well, because I'm doing too many things often, is to kind of really go back and mine really great content out of long form discussions. And I realized I've got this kind of like wasted opportunity that's just sitting in front of me all the time. And so I saw this idea of this content studio, and you are launching this officially. So let's open the doors. What is the podcast content studio, and why is it awesome?
You bet. So this is something that came from Kitcaster, obviously, but we would kind of wrap it under a Kitcaster brand. We have splintered it off into its own standing brand just for clarity, because if you do one thing, people understand. You do two things, nobody knows what you do. So Kitcaster just books people on podcasts. We're spinning this off to repurpose podcast content into evergreen marketing assets. And this comes from kind of a fundamental understanding of what our clients want, but also what entrepreneurs and business owners want. Like your shirt, our mission is to celebrate good conversation. We take it really seriously, and we think that of all the problems that kind of face humanity right now, the only way that we overcome them, whether it's environmental crisis, or it's mental health crisis, or it's economic or social concerns, the only way we overcome these is through conversation. That's it. So we don't take it lightly. It's fun. We have lots of fun, and we're fortunate to work with people that are literally changing the world for the good. We feel like there's a responsibility to that. So what we do is Kitcaster books them on opportunities to have those conversations and talk to an audience that's receptive and open to what that conversation might entail. But a part of a conversation of actually two people coming together, there's another couple components. One is kind of harmonizing your story from the past and being able to pull anecdotes from your past to be able to talk to a podcast host and ultimately an audience in a way that they can relate to you. Entrepreneurs, particularly B2B SaaS tech companies, we get so passionate about the product itself, it's hard to figure out what it is that you're actually talking about. But people are willing to spend the hour with you to figure it out if they relate to you. So by going into your own personal history and rooting out some great anecdotes about who you are as a person, allows somebody to connect to you. So that's part of what we do. The content studio came from the other side of that. Like, how do you harmonize the future? Like, what exactly are you doing? We have a product that's solving a problem, but where are we going and why? What's your vision of the future? Why are you a good person? And what's interesting about that is, one, it's really hard to actually come to a conclusion on that because it changes. But in the spirit of these conversations, we're actually saying it all the time. We're giving a vision of what this future looks like. So with the content studio, we're providing a mirror to deliver back to, in this case, a guest of a podcast. It could work great for a host as well, of like, this is what you're saying, and this is where you can publish this information. So what the content studio is somebody submits a podcast episode, let's say. It could be a YouTube video, could be a Zoom call. And we take that and we convert it into these marketing assets, which is 5 or more pieces of artwork, that you could share on your desired social platform. What we've heard a lot from our clients and folks is that they're looking for kind of a Cadillac presentation of their LinkedIn in 2022. Like,
Right.
that's where it's going to be important for them. So we provide artwork that they can share on LinkedIn without having to think about it. Second part is we create 5 or more quotes, like great quotes from the episode. A lot of time what happens conversationally is you don't have the impact of like an 8-9 word quote, but we actually take what you're saying, interpret it into like these very definitive standalone statements that, again, once we deliver it to you, you just click a button, you can copy it, you put that into LinkedIn, let's say, and then you add a little context around it, and boom, you got a great kind of vision and mission that you're working on for any particular thing. So there's 5 or 6 of those. And then we take a summation of what the episode was about, what you'll learn, links mentioned, who are the people in this conversation. So it's kind of a blog post for your newsletter. Maybe it's just the whole introduction to a podcast episode for LinkedIn or for your website. It's all kind of SEO qualified to add like a lot of SEO juice to the keywords that you're looking for. So at face value, you send us a podcast episode, we send you 5 or more pieces of artwork, 5 or more quotes, and a great SEO rich blog post based around that content. We include kind of a publishing schedule so that if you're like, just tell me when to post what, we've got that there for you. And we do a full transcription of the audio as well. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for people that are committed to audio to be able to use that online in different channels.
Now this is really, really cool because I'm splitting and now I'm actually doing audio and video simultaneously. So I've actually switched it up that I'm launching both sides of the podcast because I found like there's a very distinct way that like viewership is really solid and it's interesting to see, but like that's a different type of audience. And then quite often, I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I've watched a lot of video interviews, And in the end, the challenge that I get is I'm like, it's in me, but like that's it, right? I have to sort of pull out my quotables, and I often do it myself, like even when I read an ebook. So I think of this is like Blinkist for your podcast. This is a chance for you to go in and grab just the stuff that really is going to resonate. And what I really dig about the fact that your team is doing this is that as the interviewer or the interviewee, I've got preconceptions as to what I think is going to be the most important thing that I say or that I ask in that discussion. But you came back, your team actually handed me a bunch of really, really wild picks out of it that were just fantastic that I wouldn't have known to dig for, right? And especially, look, I'm doing 70-minute podcasts. Like
Yeah,
that's a
it's a
lot.
lot.
That's a lot of content to sift through. And so the fact that they went in, they grabbed really, really slick stuff that I could then hand to my guest and say, hey, look, here's a bunch of, like you said, visual assets, quotable assets, stuff they could drop in LinkedIn. This is like Spotify wrapped for your podcast, like a real good chance to say, this is what mattered out of what you had a discussion on. And it makes me then go and say, hey, if these things are getting said, I'm going to listen.
Yeah,
Really, really
absolutely.
cool.
Nice, and I'm glad you had a good experience with it because, we think it's gonna be huge. The other thing that's kind of interesting about for podcast hosts is podcasts are typically pretty topical and timely, so if people are gonna listen to the latest one, but like in your case, you have 200 episodes of a back catalog that can be converted to evergreen content of stuff that's always gonna be relevant, and oftentimes, the best way to consume that is visually, or just with like really tight quotes. Because as people are going past, let's say their LinkedIn feed or something, it's just like, wow, like Eric is delivering these incredible quotes all the time, and they're just more than likely to start engaging with your content. And if, LinkedIn or, Instagram or anywhere, wherever you're kind of committing yourself, it's about allowing people to get to know you a little bit. And what the content studio is really committed to is having people get to know you with your vision of how the future could be, because that kind of like dreamerishness, I think is often where entrepreneurs struggle with their vision. It's kind of coming together, but it pops out in these conversations in the most interesting ways.
And if you're thinking about anything that you can do as a service, look, I'm in the business of doing as much as I can with my time and offloading. Like this is it literally stood out as the best thing that it could do for me as a host, that I can generate more value from the content for my guests, right? That gives their voice it's punctuation on a great conversation, and it just like pushes to the front. And now then I can go back through and they're excited about sharing. So I mean, it is effectively a two-sided marketplace that as a host, this is great for me because selfishly, that's more content opportunities. Like I go on to Instagram. Look, and the truth is any podcast host, I've got fantastic guests that you're sending my way. And then as I post more stuff to Instagram and to YouTube, well, suddenly those comments fill up and you get folks that maybe didn't align already with Kitcaster. And I've been able to go way outside of the market. Like Emily Gillette was the one. That's why I thought this was great.
Yeah, she's
She's
awesome.
she was so cool. And
Yeah.
it really, what a rare opportunity through another friend, to be able to get connected. And now she looks at this, and next thing people are seeing that, they're seeing her. Look, we're in a network. The world is a network. And this is for people to use. And look, for any marketing content, there's nuggets in there. And look, I'm in the content marketing business. If your elevator pitch takes a 98 floor elevator ride, it's not going to go well.
Right.
So if I can go through and I can pick a quote and I can share that on LinkedIn, even if people don't go the distance and listen to the whole episode, the fact is it's an impression.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Look, this is the world of story branding and creating your story. And that little snippet sticks your brand in their mind. End result, that LinkedIn feed keeps getting filled, that Instagram feed gets filled, and that regularity, it works. It works. Like there's a reason why this stuff works. I mean, for goodness sakes, my 2.5-year-old tells me she wants calico critters. Like she has she just knows every once in a while a calico critter comes out and she says, I want these. So this is your chance to do that for your content and for your guests. Like that's really why I do this, is like, how can I bring people's voice to the world? And if I can enhance that, this is it. So there you go. You got a customer for life on this stuff. I just got to figure out how to make sure that I keep my machine rolling so that I can keep this machine rolling.
You bet. No, and that's great to hear, and there's a lot of trust built in that, because what we're talking about is saving people time and helping them with what they're most passionate about, so we want to be able to deliver where people don't skip a beat. They know that what's coming from the podcast content studio is going to be awesome. So the backbone of this service is based in unconditional positive regard, where everything that's coming out of our camp is going to be visionary. It's going to be inspirational. It's going to be positive and welcoming, so that, people don't have to run it through some kind of sarcasm filter. It's like, no, like this kind of stuff. We want to have impactful statements and beautiful artwork coming out of this product.
Well, there you go. It is podcastcontent.studio. Even easier to remember, easy as possible name. So this is fantastic. And there you go. So I'm going to reserve my spot for the future when these things get turned into NFTs. Let's go next generation. Let's Web3 this thing. Podcast.content.studio.nft. Let's go all the way on the distance on this one.
Not kidding. We're working on something. So we could talk about that.
It is, this is great. So, Ryan, for folks, if they want to make sure, like I said, so just click all the links are going to be down below. This funny. I'm doing this as a YouTube thing. Like I don't have to worry about the audio side of it, because this is just purely going out as video. And I'm going to promote this to make sure that people get their eyes on it. And so, yeah, click below. I love these people. They make my world better. So good golly, just do this thing. Click the link.
Nice. Eric, I appreciate you having me on to talk about the product. Really appreciate it.
All right, Ryan Estes, Kitcaster crew, and make sure you enjoy a nice cup of this Kitcaster goodness here. So, and actually, before you go, non Ducor Duco. Now, I looked it up, and it showed up on the mug. So quickly, lay that down. What's the words on the mug, and why is this important?
Well, it's in Latin, so that means it's extra special.
That's right. The fact that I had to Google it out tells me that it must be really cool.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was cool. I like to see things in Latin, but it basically means do not be led, lead. For the folks that we're working with, they don't need to be told that on a mug.
True that, but it's a good reminder of
for sure.
These are the things we do. So there you go, folks. As my friend Liza Huber said to me, do you want to consume content, or are you going to create your own? So go out and create.